Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through an 11-game slate with a whole bunch of questionable tags on it. One way to shift into NBA mode, NBA now has the stage, right? The NFL season has concluded. The Super Bowl is over. And what does the NBA do? They have made it so that they have condensed their schedule so much that the first day back after games, a bunch of guys are questionable. And then 3 days later, we're on break. It's one of the stupidest schedules. I don't understand. I saw someone on Twitter post yesterday that they should align the All-Star break with the Super Bowl. Would make all the sense in the world. Give stage to the Super Bowl that it already takes anyway. Have your guys off and have them rested when they come back, so you could have good quality games. But no, we get a bunch of questionable tags instead. All right, let's get to it today. Mike, well, I'll ask how you're doing since I went on a rant. Mike, how are you?
Good. Did a fun little pod with deadline winners. The season-long peeps always want us to do stuff like that. You guys should like that. But pretty good. No more football. So love it. NBA time. Let's do it.
All right, let's get to the questionable tags. There are tons of them today. Let's start with Atlanta. Bogdanovic, John Collins, both questionable. Saddiq Bey is available as the Warriors decided to proceed with that trade last night, that there were question marks around Gary Payton's health. Obviously, if they're without Bogdanovic, you could theoretically slide Saddiq Bey into that type of role, or they might give AJ Griffin that responsibility. If everybody's available, Jalen Johnson is probably out of the rotation. What are your thoughts on John Collins' availability and Bogdanovic's availability tonight?
New injury for Collins. Feels like a kind of a management thing for Bogdan, so we'll see there. It definitely feels like we're almost at the All-Star break. Let's get him a game off kind of situation. But Saddiq Bey, he's going to be available. Definitely a guy who could probably start if Collins is out. We know they really like Hunter as a 4-man. Saddiq Bey also has plenty of experience as a 4. Would certainly open up some more rebounding opportunities for Clint Capella, more spacing, which I think would actually help Trae Young a little bit. So, a lot of moving parts here. Expecting Saddiq Bey to pick up a pretty big role here. They gave up, a decent bit of second-round equity to get him. So we'll see if that affects Bogdan a little bit. He's been, running the show with some pretty low usage guys in the second unit when it was either with DeJounte or Trae. So, could push him down maybe a little bit. But, we'll get this one first game of the slate. So, but not too much. It doesn't sound very serious for either guy.
If they have all their guys, to me, it looks like the starting lineup that you see on the screen in front of you, and then a backup rotation of Okongwu, AJ Griffin, Bogdanovic, and Saddiq Bey, right? Those 4 guys, 9-man rotation. The question mark to me, I guess, is how much does Bey take away from AJ Griffin right away? Does AJ Griffin become more of a last guy in the rotation, or does he hold that, like the experience that he's had playing in that rotation, does that hold a little bit of weight early on as they kind of work Saddiq Bey in? What are your thoughts long-term in terms of Bey? And is he the 6th guy, the 7th guy? Because I think we feel like Bogdan is the 6th guy right now. Okongwu is kind of the 7th guy. I think there's a decent chance he slides to like the 8th guy in terms of overall pecking order with Bey. But can Bey leapfrog Bogdanovic as well?
I don't think so. I think Bogdan's. I mentioned like the rates will come down a little bit, but the minutes should be pretty solid. It's definitely AJ Griffin, right? Like floor spacing guy. Yeah. That's what Bey's gonna do. So I think Griffin's minutes could really, really crater if they do run it tight. But Griffin, I'm sorry, McMillan doesn't really tighten up too much. So yeah, we'll probably see like the really low teens squeezing in for like maybe not even like he may not even get all the non-Hunter stuff. It could really cut down on AJ who. Maybe they're like, okay, we got some depth. Let's take a game off for Bogdan. Now we got some depth.
Right.
That's kind of what I was thinking too.
I think there will be more of that certainly going forward with Capella, with Bogdan, with John Collins, with Hunter, with all these guys. Do you feel confident that AJ Griffin stays in the rotation and Jalen Johnson moves on, that they stay with 9, or do you think they could go 10 with Jalen Johnson in the rotation as well? What are your thoughts there?
McMillan's been more of a 9 guy, so I think they would probably just cut Johnson out. Because they've got plenty of size with Bey. Bey's guarded 4s plenty.
Yeah. Okay. Joel Embiid, questionable once again. Supposedly was around for shoot around this morning. He's been playing through these questionable tags of late. Once again, the opponent is a weaker one, and one you would think it would make sense to get Embiid some time off against the Houston Rockets, but they have not chosen to go this route. and the All-Star break is kind of right around the corner. What are your thoughts on Embiid's availability tonight?
Yeah, expecting him to go. We saw him play in back-to-back sets. So that's pretty much all. And then one of them was against the Spurs. So
Yeah.
feel pretty good about him playing. This is just the way. This is the way of the world now. So yeah, he's been playing big minutes, playing well. You mentioned pretty good matchup there. So expecting him to be a full go. Should mention D'Anthony Melton's minutes got cut. Shout out to us for bidding an under on him as McDaniels, who according to Doc Rivers, didn't know anything, and they were playing him, big minutes in the fourth in a really close game in Brooklyn. So, yeah, we'll see where Melton comes in, but looks like a pretty big deadline loser.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. We thought PJ Tucker's minutes would be a little bit more vulnerable with McDaniels kind of coming into the mix, but against a very wing-heavy and length-heavy Nets team instead of a guard-heavy team, they decided to play McDaniels a little bit more than Melton, as well as Tucker a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But we will see. All right, let's move to the Spurs. Charles Bassey questionable. He's back in the mix now that they basically guaranteed his contract. Keldon Johnson probable, Doug McDermott questionable, Jeremy Sohan probable, no Trey Jones today for the Spurs. What are your thoughts on the Q tags here for Bassey and for McDermott and their availability tonight?
It sounds like Bassey should be back. He's been in the G League a little bit banged up, so expecting him to go and probably getting the non-Collins backup minutes. The question is, the big question for me is who starts for Trey Jones. We saw over the weekend on Friday it was Blake Wesley, who got nuked pretty much immediately by the Devontae Graham game. So I think they would go that route again. There's a chance we've seen Branham start at the one. Which would get Keita Bates-Diop in the starting lineup. So there's kind of a lot of iterations, but I'm leaning a starting lineup of Wesley, Malachi, Keldon, Jeremy Sohan, and Zach Collins. Should mention really hard cap on Sohan. Expected to come up a little bit. He was very productive in 21 minutes, goes 18, 9, and 5. Really, his rates have been climbing here. It's making a really big impact. So I expect him to probably touch like 25, 26, something along that. Pop didn't have anything to say, but just based on the sub patterns, it seemed like he's going to be a little bit longer leash there. Keldon should be good to go. He's been dealing with this thing. Shouldn't have any limitations on him.
All right, let's move to the Pacers, where Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner are both on the injury report today. Halliburton questionable, Turner questionable, along with Trevelin Queen and Kendall Brown, who are just perpetually questionable for G League assignments. What's your read on the Pacers duo tonight?
Should be good on Halliburton. We saw him do a practice interview. Didn't really hear anything there, so that was surprising to get that Q tag. Miles Turner's had this back injury before. We remember he, about a month and a half ago or so, popped up and was out for a little bit. So probably an aggravation. So more concern on him. Probably go to Jalen Smith. They could go to Isaiah Jackson as well. Jackson's been kind of putting Smith to the side there, so would be those guys handling most of the center minutes. But I feel pretty good about Halliburton playing in a pretty good matchup against Utah.
Denver side of things, Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon both questionable. They both missed the last game. We saw Vlatko Konchar move into the starting lineup and be productive, but we saw most of the offense flow through Nikola Jokic, who was incredible against Charlotte once again. Any read on the availability of Murray or Gordon tonight?
Yeah, Murray's been dealing with this knee thing for a while now. I missed over a week, so we'll see if he gets managed. Just a rib injury for Gordon, so probably back. Not too sure, but obviously if Murray's out again, it would be Bruce Brown in the starting lineup in a tough matchup against a really good Miami defense. I'm not too worried about Jokic, just to add that. We'll talk more about it on the DFS show, but the Nuggets have the number one offense against zone per possession. They're out for quite obvious reasons on why they're good against the zone, and teams don't play zone against them too much. So curious to see how Miami handles it defensively with such a tough assignment on Jokic.
New Orleans, CJ McCollum questionable tonight. We got news over the weekend that Zion is going to miss more time with the right hamstring strain that he's now aggravated. So CJ McCollum questionable tonight. Brandon Ingram's had a huge role since he's returned. CJ's been kind of dwindling a little bit. Now he's questionable with the right ankle sprain. Any read here on his availability tonight?
I didn't see what happened here, but it seems like he's probably got a chance to go. But never know with CJ, so definitely a chance he misses. If he doesn't play, probably going to go to, I would guess, Alvarado. We've seen Kyra kind of cut in for some ball handling, playing behind CJ said something to keep an eye on, but I would expect Alvarado to get the start. And yeah, you mentioned, man, Ingram's role has been absurd. He's like driving like a ton. He's like 16, 17 drives per game, with a ton of shots off drives. He's been ultra aggressive. Minutes have been huge. We constantly talk about the usage rate spiking, so it would be even better in an interesting matchup. He's probably getting the door assignment either way, but not too concerned. So it would be a big spot for Ingram.
Yeah, and a team that's been deep all year would again be starting to have some challenges on the depth side of things. They did pick up Josh Richardson, so they'd have him in the mix as well with Alvarado and Kyra Lewis as potential ball handlers. But you look at the bench and it's like, Najee you feel good about in that scenario, Nance you feel good about, and then Richardson you feel pretty good about. But after that, it gets a little bit thinner. So again, it's this team that we've touted the depth all season long continues to get tested by injuries all season long. Chicago, Alex Caruso is questionable, left midfoot soreness is the notation there on the injury report. He's been probable for a while, so seeing a questionable tag in advance of the All-Star break is a little bit concerning. What are your thoughts on Caruso tonight?
Yeah, definitely a chance he misses, right? So that would elevate Kobe White a little bit, give Patrick Williams a really safe minutes floor, a little bit more Dragic as well, as his minutes kind of got pushed down to free up Kobe, who's been playing a little bit better lately. But man, he just can't stay healthy. Surprised the Bulls didn't deal him, but what else is new? The Bulls sitting on their hands. But expecting Caruso probably game time. Definitely a chance he misses though.
Dallas, Tim Hardaway Jr. questionable tonight with that right hamstring issue that cost him the last game that he missed. We've seen Josh Green really step up in his absence. Any read on Tim Hardaway Jr.'s availability for tonight?
I'm not expecting him to play. We saw him pull the hammy. It was kind of downplayed by Kid after the game, saying he didn't expect him to miss much time. But hamstrings are, you miss a game from those. He's had that before, so I'd be pretty surprised if he's out there. I would expect the starting lineup of Luka, Kyrie, Josh Green, who's playing so much, Reggie Bullock, and then Dwight Powell. And we saw Wood was really good in the last game, and kind of brought them back. They had a nice little run late third with him out there, and he still only gets 18 minutes. He is just nuked with getting high ceiling, just because they're leaning more into the offense with suddenly Josh Green, who's apparently a good offensive player. It should be pretty tight minutes. And we saw Bullock run away, started the second half and just got 40 minutes overtime game. Picking up the Fox assignment, but could expect a lot of minutes there.
Yeah. On the other side, Rudy Gobert and Kyle Anderson with these questionable tags once again. Karl-Anthony Towns still a ways away. Any read on Slow-Mo or Rudy Gobert and their availability tonight?
Should be good on Gobert. We've seen this questionable tag for like a month now. He's missed only back-to-back games, not a back-to-back set here, so expecting him to be full go. Expecting a minutes limit on Kyle Anderson. We've had this talk back in November about his back still being a thing. So here we are almost to the All-Star break. Had that flare up. We saw him go last week to the floor because he was in agony. He's missed some time as well. So expecting his minutes to be cut a little bit, which could open up a little bit for maybe Noel. They really like Soma for offense, interestingly. So that could open him up a little bit. Open up a little bit more for Austin Rivers and add a more minute ceiling to McDaniels if you can actually avoid foul trouble. He's going to get Luka too, so definitely a dangerous spot for him.
LeBron has missed the last two games, questionable again today for the Lakers. And there was a report that came out over the weekend that suggested that they were expecting, like under a normal situation, him to miss weeks. Was the reporting that I had seen. So a little bit concerning here. What are your thoughts on LeBron's availability tonight? Late game at Portland. Big playoff implications if the Lakers are trying to get into the play and they need to win these games against these other teams. They got to win against the Warriors on Saturday, which is a really nice win. Dennis Schroeder was really good in that game. Rui Hachimura was really good in that game. So some of the pieces that they picked up, adding to wins immediately. But when will we see LeBron?
Yeah, not sure. I mentioned the report. Definitely the timing is interesting, right? Breaks the record, misses 2 games. But we'll see. I think there's a chance he comes back. He's been dealing with this thing for really all of 2023, it feels like. One other note, too, was the comments from Dennis Schroeder. We saw him pick up the Poole matchup. He is trusted by Darvin Ham to be their point of attack defender, which led me to make Damian Lillard the cover boy because Schroeder's going to guard Dame. And Poole killed Schroeder, especially early fourth. I took some overs on him. It hit easily. But I love Dame today, especially, which we'll talk about Jeremy Grant in a second. But could be a really, really great offensive role. But I expect Schroeder to play. I expect him to start next to D'Lo. I think they're comfortable with that. I had some concerns that they didn't trust Schroeder with that role to maybe put in Austin Reeves as a starter. But it sounds like they want to put Schroeder as their point of attack defender. So that's a spot I will be writing about in matchups if it does continue for the foreseeable future.
On the other side, you did mention Jeremy Grant, who left last game late. He played pretty much the whole game. He left early in the game, came back and played through. Now he's in concussion protocol. So apparently he played through a significant injury issue last game, listed as questionable. What are your thoughts on his availability tonight, and how would they cope without Jeremy Grant? Because obviously they're playing their main guys so many minutes. They don't have a lot of confidence in their bench. And if they were without Jeremy Grant, along without Yusuf Nurkic already, things start to tighten up. So what are your thoughts here on Jeremy Grant and the Blazers?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think there's a chance he misses, right? I mean, that's pretty scary to miss for a concussion protocol. So I actually think that if he misses, I think they would throw the new pieces out there. I think they would throw Matisse Thybulle would probably get the LeBron assignment. And then Cam Reddish, we saw him start the last game. He had a 20-minute cap, according to Chauncey Billups after the game. So expecting, probably low 20s minutes. They don't want to play Nazir Little too many minutes. We saw his minutes could get cut if Cam Reddish's minutes are increased, which again, I expect them to increase there. Would be great news for Anthony Simons. Gets a nice little usage increase when Jeremy Grant's off the court. I mentioned Dame already would be in a huge spot as well. Maybe more Eubanks. We'll see if Trendon Watford plays a little bit of overlap with Eubanks. Trendon Watford has played some 4, mostly 5, but no more Greg Brown, so that could definitely benefit there. Maybe we see a little bit more Jabari Walker. He hasn't really been trusted too much, and again, huge game as you mentioned. So I think this could be really tight. This is a spot we're going to be really focusing on for the DFS show, especially with all these questionable tags. You want to kind of lean into the late stuff. So, we'll be a possible flag. I mean, I already matchup covered boy Dame, so you kind of know how I feel about him.
Yeah. All right. Speaking late West Coast games, Andrew Wiggins questionable tag for Golden State tonight as Washington visits them. Right ankle sprain for Andrew Wiggins. Any indications on his availability tonight?
Yeah, nope. Didn't really see what happened there. Minutes were down, so I guess something happened because I was expecting him to play a bunch. We saw him touch I think 37 2 games ago. But keep an eye on that one. He's been dealing with a groin injury for most of the season, and the illness kind of cut him down as well. But if he doesn't play, they might just start Dante. They're going to need the point of attack defense in a big way, so his minutes could really be elevated there. They might start Kuminga too if they really want to trust Kuminga. They would be getting. I think they would want to get DiVincenzo to get the Beal matchup, but it could definitely be Kuminga. They really want to kind of spread his wings.
I think they'd go Kuminga first, just to get a little bit more punch in that second unit that lacks a lot of offensive punch. It's obviously you remove Wiggins, you've already removed Steph. Things can get pretty thin there for Golden State, who of course at the trade deadline made a trade for somebody who isn't going to help them for a while.
We actually just got a quote saying he's going to be out a month, and he'll be back for pre-playoffs, according to Bob Myers.
Okay,
that's Gary Payton too.
All right, Kyle Kuzma on the other side of this game is questionable as well. We've seen him out of the lineup of late. Denny Avdia has seemed to be the guy who's benefited most. What are your thoughts on Kyle Kuzma's availability tonight?
Not expecting him to play. He had pain in his ankle over the weekend. Did get some work in. Didn't go full, though, according to Wes Unseld. So I'm expecting him to miss. We saw Corey Kispert start the last game, which was a bit of a surprise, considering how well Denny Avdia has been playing. Wouldn't be surprised if they go back to Denny, but I think Kispert was fine. Got to win. No really reason to change it. We've seen Unseld kind of stick with what works. So I'm expecting Kispert to start, obviously, next to Monty Morris, Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porzingis, and Daniel Gafford, who's been playing a ton lately.
Yep. Yeah, Gafford, Beal, and Porzingis have all really flourished without Kuzma. We're seeing a little bit more of the Beal of old stat lines of late. Okay, doubtfuls and outs. A really notable injury report here for the Miami Heat, who Tyler Hero started the day questionable, moved to doubtful. They have 11 players listed on their injury report. So basically a whole team. Bam is listed probable, Haywood Highsmith probable, Max Strus and Gabe Vincent probable, but they're without Oladipo, Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, and now Tyler Hero, who's listed as doubtful. That's almost all of the backcourt. So what is left for the Miami Heat tonight, and what are your expectations there?
Booyah! No, I'm expecting a lot of Max Strus and a lot of Gabe Vincent ball handling and a lot of Jimmy Butler. Really a good spot for Jimmy. We've seen his ball handling get really pushed down. They've been leaning more into the hero band pick and roll stuff. I would expect Strus to play a pretty good bit. Vincent is going to play all he can. Booyah will get his non gaze behind him, maybe a little bit of overlap as well. But and could be a lot of Bam. Could be definitely a spot to attack against Denver's defense has been fantastic. So KCP would probably get Gabe. Aaron Gordon, if he can go, would likely get Jimmy, and I'm okay playing into that. But then we've got questionable tags on that side with Aaron Gordon too. Yep. So whole lot going on here with this one.
Yeah. Let's move to Houston, where Kevin Porter Jr. is still sidelined. They moved Eric Gordon at the trade deadline. So we saw Jayshawn Tate slide into the starting lineup. Any notes or expectations on the Rockets that you want to cover here?
No, just a pretty lackluster game from the Rockets. Not surprising against Miami, the last one. So expecting Tate to probably have a little bit of a cap, but role should be a little bit better. Matchup against the Sixers. Their defense has kind of been slipping. With overall their transition defense has been bad, but their half-court defense has been worse. So I think the Rockets could maybe get this to like 2-3 minutes of garbage time, or Embiid could just take over. But just want to note that KJ Martin's playing a ton too. So those guys look to be benefiting. Tough matchup for Şengün against Embiid.
Yeah, and Jabari Smith wasn't able to get his sleep last night as he put out there on social media in advance of preparing for the game tonight. Wouldn't be an 11-game slate, wouldn't be an injury report analysis show without talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have Dario Saric available tonight. So another body in the mix, and Jeremiah Robinson Earl available from the G League. Trey Mann sent down on G League assignment. So they're beefing up that front court a little bit. The matchup tonight against New Orleans obviously has a lot of front court size with Jonas Valanciunas there. Any thoughts on how Dario Saric will be utilized, or Jeremiah Robinson Earl in his return, and how that impacts Lynn Williams?
Yeah, definitely sort of kind of a signal, right? Like you're taking out your guard and you're bringing in your bigger front court. So I think they're just going to run bigger, right? We'll see Giddey probably get the non-SGA point guard minutes and then fill in those minutes with, Dort being a 2 and then running Dario as a 4-5. Probably affects Lynn Williams as well. The ceiling could be gone. The more of these bodies come in, we'll see Jeremiah Robinson, who's been practicing for a very long time. Not a situation to lead into. We like to play guys against the Pelicans. Really bad at rim stuff per possession. But this is a total crapshoot with all these bodies now.
Yeah, and it was pretty disappointing last game for Oklahoma City that Lynn Williams, after his breakout game against the Lakers, didn't get more of an opportunity. I mean, just 18 minutes. He played fine. Like they were +3 in his 18 minutes. 4 for 5 shooting was fine. The game was trending a little bit smaller with Jeremy Grant getting hurt early and then Nurkic out, obviously. But I was kind of hoping for a little bit more of a commitment after that breakout performance, and we didn't really see it. So that coupled with Saric available, coupled with Jeremiah Robinson Earl available, just has me like, we're back to the OKC center rotation days of who knows who's going to play when.
Yeah, and Dort, I can't believe we lost that Dort prop. We had an under on him. I felt so good about it because he's coming off the bench with Dame on the other side. Like he's gonna have a huge minutes cap on him. Hits his minutes limit, doesn't miss a freaking shot. Goes 6 for 6. Just a brutal loss. That and our Brandon Robinson or Brandon Boston L's on Friday. I'm still feeling it.
Tough times on Friday. All right. As always, please support the people who support us. This show is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. They have daily NBA snake drafts for money, running in addition to many formats of NFL best ball contests that they've now released already for the 2023-2024 NFL season that you can play over there. If you're playing NBA Pick'em, in-season subscribers to ETR can use our tool to compare ETR projections to their fantasy Pick'em games. If you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, use promo code ETR for a matching deposit bonus up to $100. That's promo code ETR at underdogfantasy.com. As always, behind the paywall today for Established Run subscribers, myself and Mike Gallagher will walk you through this 11-game slate from a DFS perspective. GPP bro Gary Hartman still on vacation. He'll make his return Wednesday, just in time for the All-Star break. But myself and Mike will dig in on the slate. Hopefully we'll have some more injury news. If not, we'll talk about the ways to set up your lineups to be able to take advantage of that injury news throughout the night during the course of that 5 o'clock show. And as always, if you're uninterested in giving us your hard-earned dollars, we do ask for your hard-earned clicks. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live. And also, of course, smash that like button and help circulate the algorithm. I know everybody's stuffed from Super Bowl Sunday and feeding themselves. The algorithm's not stuffed. You got to feed the algorithm, smash that like button. We'll help feed our families, and we'll help feed you the information that you need to make your DFS lineups, your prop bets, your spread bets, so on and so forth. So feed that algo. Nom, 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 nom. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.